Jamie from Shamrock Girl World, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite trees that I commonly see in the public, the Mexican plum tree. I discovered this tree back in 2010, and every year I can't wait to have the snackable plums. In this video, I'll show you what the tree looks like, where you can find them in public, how to pick the plums, and how to enjoy them. Most of the trees photographed and filmed in this video are from a public park in Central Texas. So, what is a Mexican plum? Mexican plum is a single trunk plum tree that bears small, round, purplish red plums. It's a moderately sized tree, reaching about 20 to 25 feet tall when mature. It also has a natural open spread. For example, I can spot a Mexican plum tree, whether it's blooming or not, from a long distance away. The tree is drought tolerant, and the roots of the tree are often used as rootstock for other plum varieties. The leaves can be up to 5 inches long and about 2 inches wide. The leaves can be oval or narrow-shaped with serrated edges and pointed tips. They can also be curled or flattened depending on the weather and the time of the season. The tree develops round, red to purple plums that are about 3/4 of an inch to 1.25 inches in diameter, depending on the tree and the water intake. The trees are drought tolerant, love full sun, and can grow in a little bit of shade. Mexican plums are self-fertile because the flowers contains the male and female parts, but it doesn't hurt to get a second tree to maximize fruiting potential. So, where does it grow? The tree grows in hardiness zones 6 through 9. They're primarily found in Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Mississippi, and eastern parts of Kansas. Here in Texas, they can be found in the Dallas-Fort Worth area or North Texas, down to Austin in Central Texas, and throughout East Texas. The trees bloom small, fragrant white flowers in the spring from February through March, depending on the winter conditions. They make for beautiful trees when they are in bloom, and they can easily be spotted in a landscape, park, or along the roadside. Depending on the hardiness zone, the tree may bear fruit as early as July to as late as November. The plums will grow on the trees in grape-like clusters. For example, in my zone of 8B, the plums are ready in late August through late October, early November. The best month is in September. When the tree leaves develop fall colors, the fruit may have already fallen off the trees. The trees will soon go dormant. So where can you find it? You can find them during the springtime bloom. The first thing you can do in late February or early March is to look for small to medium-sized trees with white blooming flowers. Each year, I drive around the city and look for white blooming trees. If you're able to get up close to the trees, you'll be able to smell the sweet fragrance. If you're unable to examine the tree up close, make a mental or physical note of where the tree is and come back to it in July or August. If you see green, marble to quarter-sized fruit, it's likely a Mexican plum. However, during your bloom tree search, if you see tall, straight trees with a triangular shape, those might be regular or ornamental pear trees. The pear flowers will also be larger than the plum flowers. If you spot some small, white blooming trees, you may have also come across Chickasaw plums. These plum trees are mostly thicket shrubs and can be found along roadsides, forests, and in plains. The trees also have thorn-like branches. The plums go from green to yellow to dark red. The plums also ripen in early summer before the Mexican plums. Some of the ranges of Chickasaw plum and Mexican plum overlap. So the next time you're in these types of locations in the springtime, look out for medium-sized white blooming trees. Mexican plum trees can also be found in many public areas, such as public parks and edible trails. They can be found in public access buildings as part of a landscape. For example, I first discovered Mexican plums at a community college. The location has several plum trees that were part of their landscape. I saw the plums on the ground, sampled them, and I've been in love with them ever since. The plum trees can be found on the side of the road, in the median, or along sidewalks. I've also seen plum trees at open access apartment complexes and in islands in shopping centers or parking lots. If you find Mexican plum trees, please make sure that they are open to the public. So where can you get them? You can easily find and sample Mexican plums in public areas and locations. But if you want your own trees, you can find them in local nurseries, online nurseries, or landscape nurseries. You can usually find them where other fruit or plum trees are sold. So, how do you pick the plums? The best plums are the ones that fall on the ground. It's one fruit tree where you do not pick them from the tree. I've seen too many people do this and they regret it. The color of the fruit off the tree may indicate ripeness. If the plums are green, pale, or bluish, the plums are unripe and may need a month or more to ripen. If the plums are yellow to orange, they will be unripe and sour. The fruit may also be really firm. If the plums are any shade of dark pink or red and are off the tree, they'll be ripe and be a mixture of sweet and sour. The plumper the fruit, the sweeter it is. And you can also smell the sweet plums. If the plums are mostly purple, they are overripe or have been sitting on the ground for several days. They're still edible, but are fragile and perishable. In general, the plums are a mixture of sweet and sour. The plums also have edible, white, waxy skin and may change appearances when the plums are touched or washed. I highly recommend using a nut gatherer to collect the plums. Because you can get tens of pounds of small fruit from each tree, a rolling fruit picker or nut gatherer will be your best friend. This way, you don't have to bend down or crawl to collect the fruit, which is what I've been doing for years. I bought a nut gatherer in 2019 and used it to gather plums. The plums are big and firm enough to slip through the wires of the device. Purple or soft plums may break in the picker, but for the most part, you can gather most of the plums without destroying them. You can roll the device along the ground and gather the fruit. Make sure to empty it out often and not let the basket get heavy. The gatherer works best on flat surfaces. You can gather more plums faster with this device. Using it was very fun and addicting. I would use the picker for pecans later that year and for loquats into the next year. So how do you enjoy the Mexican plum? You can eat them raw. It's one of my favorite things to do. Simply wash them off and eat the sweet and sour plums. I tend to gather a bag of plums and eat them steadily throughout the day. The plums are full of fiber, so, like prunes, make sure not to eat too many. I love making jam out of these. Although they are not big plums, each tree can produce tens of pounds of fruit. I boil the fruit whole and remove the seeds from each fruit. It's tedious, but it's better to cook them first than to remove the seeds from the uncooked fruit. Too much pulp stays on the seeds that way. If you freeze the fruit, removing the seeds is a little easier and cleaner than using fresh fruit. I make jam using the pulp and the skins. You can also put the skins in a blender to make the pieces smaller if you want a smoother jam. You'll need to use a good amount of sugar because the pulp mixture will be sour rather than sweet. You can also make fruit leather out of them. You can cook down the whole fruit, remove the seeds, and make fruit leather using a flat tray or a special fruit leather mat. It's best to blend down the pulp of the fruit to break down the skin. This step also helps to make the fruit leather lay and dry evenly. You will leave the thin sheets of fruit pulp in the oven on its lowest setting for 8 to 12 hours. Or you can use a dehydrator for smaller sheets of fruit pulp. You can make desserts and pastries out of them. You can use the plums to make pies, cobblers, cakes, and other small pastries. There are many ways to use this small plum. Mexican plum trees are hardy, medium-sized trees that bear small, sweet, and sour fruit. I've enjoyed these plums for many years, and I can't wait to have trees of my own. It'll be a few years until my tree and seedlings grow and bear fruit. But in the meantime, I can still get my fill of them in public locations. Mexican plums are also growing in popularity in public parks and landscapes. So be on the lookout for white blooming trees in the springtime so you can enjoy these snackable, tasty plums in late summer and early fall. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more videos and photos of Mexican plums, check out the country update videos below. Links are in the description. And don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell for more videos about exotic fruits, growing exotic fruits, gardening, outdoor crafts, and more. Thank you.